All right, good morning. Just gotta get a few more things set up here. So we want to turn off the chat on YouTube. Links. Hey, close. Escape, not close this. Okay, let's see. Looks like we got sound, so we should be good there. I got the links in the chat. Let me close this. Let me close this. Close this. Let's chat somewhere I can see it as well. Yeah, that works when it changes. Let's see. Okay. I think we're all set here. So I am a couple minutes earlier than usual. I usually start at 10 a.m. or about 6 minutes before that. So I figured I would just pop on and get going a little bit early. Probably will be a bit shorter of a stream than usual as well. I don't really have a set time, but I do generally go at least 2 hours, sometimes a bit more, sometimes a little bit less. Today I think we'll be on the shorter side because I do have some other stuff I'll be going to do later on after this. For anybody that might be new, my name is Tim. I go by Foamy Guy on GitHub and Discord. We are working with CircuitPython stuff on this stream. In particular, today I'm going to be looking at the LED animation library. But just in case, if we get anybody watching the video or anything new in the future and you don't know what CircuitPython is, you can learn more here at circuitpython.org. But the gist of it is that this is a implementation of Python that runs on these tiny computers called microcontrollers. There's lots of different shapes and sizes here, so like this main chip on this device, or the main big chip on this one in the middle here, that is a microcontroller chip, and then all these extra pins on the outside are hooked up to that microcontroller. We can write Python code that runs on this little computer and interacts with all of these connections represented by the pins. They come in all different shapes and sizes, obviously. This page has got lots of different ones. Some of them have different peripherals built in, like screens or touch overlays, or cherry keys and knobs, alligator clips, RGB LEDs, all kinds of different things you can get built in. In particular today, I'm taking a look at the LED animation library, which is for these RGB LEDs like on this device here that are called NeoPixels. They're able to be set to any color. And then this library is for making animation, so for changing the colors over time to do interesting and pretty things. And we're looking at an improvement in that. So we'll try out the code and see if we can measure it in any way, like time it takes to execute or anything, and see if we can pin down like the efficiency upgrade. So that's what I'll look at today. I do need to still set a few more things up. I don't have the camera yet, so let's do that. I am a few minutes early, but I also do still have a couple of things to get going here. We should be, ooh, interesting. Random gray page. Oh, it's on the video feed, I see. Okay, it's probably crashed, right? Yep. We're gonna want to have to go back one too, though. Let's see. Oh. Oh, yeah. All right. So I don't have anything in view yet, but I've got some NeoPixels set up here, and then I've got the a strip here of I think probably 30 or something like that. Set it here. Let's see here, one thing. Okay. So probably first thing is like I don't think I have this cloned yet, so I am still on the new computer. I haven't really got a. What's this little blue dot? Kind of interesting. I have not got all of the repos that I had before cloned. Maybe I should just do the bundle and work inside there? I don't know. I should think about better ways to organize it than just cloning a million things. Now, though, we're only on to 5 things, so we are just going to clone it. See if we get inspiration for a better way to organize. I'll open that project up that we just cloned. New window. We're going to get the PR branch using GH, the GitHub command line tool. Wants to load. Loading components? Certainly feels stuck. Oh, just being impatient. Okay. Virtual environment. We do not want a virtual environment. We just want to use the base interpreter. I wish I could figure out a way to change that. I don't really want to offer to make a virtual environment for everything that I ever do ever. PyCharm don't prompt env project. Each project. Environment for each project in PyCharm? No, I don't. The opposite. Project interpreter? That's where you select an interpreter. I want the default for what it's prompting me when I open. How's it going, Johnny? Good morning. Configure a virtual environment. Well, morning for me. I guess it may not be morning still for you, but I forget the time zone. Let's see. Fails to activate, configure. This is all like manually setting up. None of this is really like the initial prompt when I first open a project. That's really the thing I'm trying to change. Because I can set it for each one, but I don't really want to have to do that either. I just want it to be like, use this one by default, and then if I want a virtual env, I'll create a virtual env. Anyway, that's another thing to chase. I figured maybe we'd find it real quick with a search, but no, not looking like it. So let's go gh, check out the branch. Oh, we're out of date again already. Gh, we just installed it too. Did I install this one? Is it a deb file? Um, so I was thinking there would be like an update here, but No details for this release. I guess I have not done a, oh, I did the wrong thing. I did the wrong thing. Okay, let's try this one. If this doesn't work, I'll move on. I haven't done an update yet of a deb file on this computer. On the old one, though, I could do this GUI install and it would have a update, but it says uninstall, which I guess I could uninstall and then install it after, but then is it gonna lose my authentication? Because I don't really want to have to do that every time they update, because they update fairly quickly. Let's see, I'll indulge this one for just a moment as well. I know we're getting off the beaten path here. 5 in the afternoon, I gotcha. Okay, so good evening then. Sudo apt install the deb file. They say these days. Let's see when this was posted to, though. Okay, 2020, not too far back. I mean, can you just apt install a deb file? I had no idea. Automatically install. See, yeah, that's the thing. I did that, but it's not, it doesn't, I did it just like I did the first one, but it doesn't have the right option in it. Cannot get automatic updates. That's not what repositories are for. So, I mean, this is not entirely true. I guess they assume that the way I did it the first time was different. Snap. Yeah, I guess let's try apt. I had no idea this was a thing. Accessed. Should it not be sudo? Upgraded? I mean, surely it's not that it wouldn't have, yeah. Couldn't be accessed by user apt. Permission denied. I don't know, is that successful or not? Okay. Okay. 103. I'll have to remember that. Apt install deb files. How's it going, C. Grover? Good morning. Let's see. Apt install. I had no idea that was the way to do that. But that was a way to do that. But I guess honestly we should probably go to main just for a minute first and just get like a simple test running on our device with the animations that are in use, get everything ready. That way when we swap, we can actually start to tell what difference it made. You need sudo when installing. Okay. Yeah, I ran sudo, but it's still, oh, I think I closed it, didn't I? But it had like a permission issue, which is odd, but it seemed to work anyway, so it was only on the trigger after the fact. I'm not exactly sure what that was all about, but I did try with sudo first, and it oddly still ended up with a permission issue. It looked like for the apt user, I guess. I didn't know it had its own user, really. I think comment will be the one that we're going to start the testing with, and I'm just going to use the I'm going to use the strand first. So I have Funhouse, the NeoPixel strand that plugs in. Orientation kind of okay. Doesn't really matter too much. Okay, we're already plugged in this. That'll be enough to see the animation even though it's not pointed up at the camera. No idea what we would be running on this. For one thing, we could probably go ahead and update CircuitPython. Something to do with Adafruit.io. Is this a simple test, most likely? Yeah. Let's just blank that back out for now. Let's go ahead and update the device while we're here, right? We might as well test on the newest stuff. I think maybe this jump has the reformat or whatever. Let's take a backup of our device. I should get link a CLI thing that does backups. Do not have that yet. I'm basically just copying a copy of the CircuitPy drive to my local computer. That way, if it gets erased, we can put it back. And how does this? It should just be double tap reset, right? Which button is reset? Is it the front? Oh, you gotta do it when it's purple? There we go. Okay. Completed. Really need this anymore. Sure, we're working on the actual device now. Does not look like it did erase though. I mean, I still have all my stuff. I don't know. Maybe it was only a certain port. I thought there was something about between betas 1 and 2 and 2 and 3 or something like that, but it doesn't seem like in my case it did it, so. We'll grab the example. We don't really need the print anymore. We're probably going to tweak this some. A3, is that our pin? Whoops. Wrong thing. A2 is what we're on. I do think we have 30 pixels. We'll see. If it's the wrong number, then it will just only run to not as far or something, or it'll be apparent, hopefully, if it's not enough. Probably 30, though. How's it going, Axel? That one GIF? Oh, nice. Got some nice wavy flag action there. Good morning, Paulus K. How's it going? Okay, we can save this to run the... There we go. There's our comment going back and forth. And what I'll do is, we are making it to the very last pixel of this strand. What I'll do is I'll change this to 29 and then see if we don't make it to the end. And then that'll tell us if we have the right number. Nice, see, we're not getting the last one anymore. So we do have a 30 strand. And I think what we will do is... we want to know the time, I think. But printing slows it down too. May interrupt our location of my son. Goshen, Kentucky, it was snowing this morning. Oh, wow. We've had, here where I'm at, we've had a little bit of flurries, I think 1 or 2 days, but that's pretty much it. We haven't had anything that has stuck yet. Most recently, it just rained yesterday or the day before. But it has gotten pretty cold. I think it's probably, I believe it is actually below freezing today, so like, I guess is the next precipitation we get probably will be in towards the snow side. Redeclared? That's fine. I wonder if printing is gonna throw this off. Do we have a way to measure it without printing, though? We don't really. I mean, I guess we could put it on the display. But updating the display takes time, too, I would assume. Maybe not as much as printing? Well, part of our problem is that printing is causing it to update the display. Maybe if we just show blank, like don't show the serial, then maybe printing won't cause as much of an issue. Of course, I also don't know, does it take time? I don't know if it will count the time that it took to print also. Well, let's just give it a try and see what kind of baseline we can get. So it's gonna have taken the current time. Record temps for November here. Yeah. It's definitely been a bit unseasonably warm as well, where I'm at. Do frame of 1,000 animation cycles. Frame of 1,000 animation cycles divide by 1,000. Animation cycles. Oh, like have it count, have it run for 1,000 cycles and then see how long it takes? Do we get a way to do that? We tell it the number to, well, oh, well, we could just use a for loop. Yeah, okay. So do we probably don't even really need the while true, in fact. Let's start like this. We'll leave that stuff, see if I want to get it later. For I in range 1,000 or 10,000 or something, we'll try 1,000. Let's see how fast it goes. I'm not actually sure what is one step. Is one step like just moving the LEDs once? I don't actually know for sure what is one step in this animation. So we'll go range is that, and then we'll go before is still 0, then we'll go comet, animate, and then at the end of all of this we'll go could just steal this whole thing though. Try to time.monotonic, and it's actually minus the before time, but in this case our before time, well, we should actually set it, shouldn't we? Yeah, we should set it. So this will run 1,000 cycles. We'll see how fast that is. Maybe let's also, while we're here, just for the first time, so I know this probably does slow it down, but we'll do this, just so I can get a sense of how fast it's running. Oh, it's pretty slow. So let's see if it is faster. I'm not quite used to... It's a Windows key arrows only to move. I feel like it used to be Windows and Control. I don't actually call it Windows key either, but there's a Windows logo on it on my keyboard, so... Is this any faster? Sure, is it done already? What happened? Well, it thinks it's done already, but it also didn't. Huh, 1,000? Wow, that was insanely faster. So it's going so fast that you don't even... Okay, you could see it there. Is that right, though? Why would that be... Doesn't seem right, does it? Let's see if the theory about the display works. What if we go board.display.show... I guess the problem is none shows the terminal, doesn't it? So really, we don't want to show none. We want to show blank. I could just call it release displays, I guess, but then it's going to be gone for good. But I can always just reboot. Release displays. Okay. That was faster. We were getting about 2.6, 2.6. There was a 2.7. And then now, though, if we do print here, does it slow back down again? No, it's still much faster. So why does it run? Why does it do more? Why does the comet go more? This goes all the way there and back. But without the print, it doesn't. So it's because I guess it's because animate is still internally looking at time, right? Animate internally is not caring. As long as you call it fast enough, then your animation will work. We are only calling it 1,000 times, but our animation is still waiting fractions of a second before it wants to do anything, irregardless of how quickly we call it. Lots of the time when we call it, it's just not time to do anything yet, so nothing happens. When we introduce the print, it gets slowed down to the point where, even though we're still calling animate 1,000 times, there's more actual time in between each one, which means we're not wasting as many calls. More of the calls actually do something, because it is time to change the animation. So we're not getting as many that just get thrown away, essentially, where it's like it calls animate, but it doesn't do anything because it's not time yet. So I think we can... It's already dark here. Record temps for November. Is that the tail that's left glowing on the strip? Well, yes and no. It is the... Essentially just when you... Nothing turns anything off, basically. So when this finishes, it's just in the last state it was in. This is not specifically the tail, although the tail having a length of 10 is what's deciding how many of these will be on. Like if we had only a tail of 3, for instance, then there would not be as many left on. In this case, it actually, I think it got lucky at the end and made it so only 1 was on. Let's take the print back out. Yeah. This time there's 3 on. So the tail determines how many, but really this is just the animation. Whatever the last frame of the animation is, it will just still be showing after it's completed. If we wanted to turn it off, we could go pixels, fill, 0, the end of everything here. Or not. Oh, and also LED animation turns the auto-saving thing off, which is called... auto write, maybe? Write auto? NeoPixel. I want to say auto. I'm gonna guess auto write. But what if can you just call write then? What if I don't want to turn it back on? I just want to make it go once. Nice. Okay. I think that's right. I think I was right with auto write, but I don't want to turn it back on. I just want to call write to refresh. Okay, so that would turn it off. So this does tell us how long it takes to cycle through 1,000 of these. In this case, it's really fast, 2/10 of a second. We could do 10,000 if we wanted to get a little bit more time in there. It gives us about 2 seconds, which makes sense because we did times 10. So we should now be able to maybe compare to the new version of the library, and if the time gets faster, if it takes less time, then we know that some improvement occurred. So now we will go back to our PR branch. Already up to date. And I think what I'm gonna do is no. We're gonna paste in the changed one, but we're gonna keep the other one so that we could switch back and forth if we wanted. Did go faster, 199 instead of 208. I didn't have the camera ready, but yeah. So it's not like massive savings, but definitely seems consistently better. And I mean, that's like, what, almost 1/10 of a second, somewhere in there, a little bit less. over the course of 2 seconds, which is like at 5%. I don't know if I trust that number very much, but and I think this would affect some other ones too. Can we read the is there like a PR details or something? Can I read the PR? View. Oh, view, and then there's web. View. Improves the speed of Comet and Chase, which does marquee animations also. So we did Comet so far. Let's do a couple others. Let's change up the color. I think I'm ready for something other than shade. Old lace. What happened? You can't just use that as a color, can you? I think there is probably a rainbow comet, but just out of curiosity, I think you can't just put this in, can you? Can, but it doesn't do anything different. Seems like the same color. Did I not change it in the right spot? I didn't change it in the right spot. Means it's now edited over in the repo instead of my CodePy here. No, cool. Okay, yeah, that one didn't work. Go rainbow. You have to be a single color. I think there is a rainbow comet though. Like that's a different animation, but I think like this. Ended up with green anyway. Red. Let's try one more. What is one? Yellow. Or orange. Okay. G. Maybe something like 5 would be blue. Purple. So there's also Chase. I don't know. I know this is still called Comet, but anything. Keyword no tail length for Chase. No bounce. Okay, let's go look at what it actually does instead of just continuing to guess. Oh, I can click through now because I have Python ones. Oh no, I can't because find them. Find them. I think we could make it find them by doing project structure. Lib. Sources? Ah, there we go. color didn't work. The ones inside of it didn't work. They're still MPYs. Didn't we change that? Did we not actually? They're not MPYs, are they? No. It's not up to date. Just not up to date. Now these are filled in, and I can control click. Look at that. That's nice. I don't think I even did that on the old computer, but that's actually really handy to set that. So basically, we just tell it that lib is a place where it can find Python code that we're going to be importing and using and doing stuff with. And now these are no longer red, and you can control click to go inside of it. Chase pixels in one direction in a single color. Size. Spacing. Verse. Maybe we shouldn't use size. What was it? Spacing. Pull out of range. I think we did too many. Doesn't actually have 6. Go look at. Well, now we can click through. Let's do purple for now. I think. What if we just do? Oh, it doesn't see them on there. Ah, there we go. We're not having to change the import for every one of those. It's the control again. Trying to go. Whoa. That is really fast. 3.5. I think we can switch back to the real one relatively easily by just doing this. These go back to red because now they're MPY files and PyCharm can't look inside them anymore. Well, can't look inside them at all because they're MPY files. Yeah, 2.67. So that was, this one is actually a bigger improvement. That one is almost 0.3 of a second over the course of 2 seconds, which is like 1/6. 16%, something in there. That's a pretty good chunk over the course of 2 seconds. You probably would not really want to run this one so fast, realistically. I'm thinking this is probably meant to be more... But something like that's probably more like what it's supposed to be. Or not, I mean, not supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be anything it can be. How's it going, Dexter? Maybe you could get the elapsed time for each animation cycle. So we were headed down that path of finding the time for each step. Um, the trick was getting so it's easy to create a variable that will have the amount of time that each step took. It's harder to output that. I guess we could store a list, output them all at the end. So the thing is, like, we started down that road, but if we print inside of this loop, really if we print anything inside this loop, but if we printed, for instance, the elapsed time of how long it took to animate, it slows way down. If we print anything in here, it slows way down. Although, did we ever test it after we turned the screen off? I think I did, right? Yeah, it slows way down. Because that was like 1.8 seconds or something, I think, before, and this one's going to be close to 10. So we can get the elapsed time each cycle, but if we try to output it, we influence it. We make it slower, basically. We could just make a list, I guess, and print them all at the end, or make a dictionary that's a histogram. That sounds kind of convenient, right? Let's drop it back to 1,000 just to make it run faster for a second. So we'll want to go update this. And then so if it is already in the dictionary, then just increment it. I'm assuming these are going to be fairly close in nature. Hopefully we don't just get a different number every time, end up with essentially a list of dictionary keys, but set this plus equal 1 because we know it existed before. Else, if it didn't exist before, we just want to set it to 1 for the first time. Then after all of this is done, maybe we can print that. See, same thing. Same thing. Oh, some things are better measured by an oscilloscope. Yeah. You would only print at the end of the complete cycle. Old trick for debugging code in MCUs without UR. Toggle some unused pins. Oh, that's a neat idea. Yeah, toggle a GPIO pin and then feed that into the scope. It's a handy trick for sure. I don't have a scope. It's one of the things that I'm on the list of stuff to try to figure out how to use and get one, but I'm not quite there yet. Should go back to running faster. Do we have a way to print that like formatted? I guess I don't know that we do. It believes the majority took 0 actually, so maybe we need to be using nanoseconds. Does it have it on this device? There we go. If we wanted to get super fancy, we could try to bar chart this, but I don't think I'm going quite there right now. It would be nice if they were in order, though. Um, how do you sort a list? Just sorted? Do we have sorted? Do have sorted. Can use sorted, so sometimes this gets me though, right? Can I go, let's see, we don't want this yet. Dictionary. Oops. Good, have a nice time. Okay. Cheap, there are cheap handheld scopes on Alley. We get to get in the world of scopes. A good intro, excuse me, a good intro into the world of scopes. So let's go, instead of just printing this all willy-nilly, let's go for time, no, sorted keys, print fstring key, which is elapsed time, count. Should be prettier, I think. We'll get new lines and everything. And they'll be in order, so we can get a sense if it's fast or slow. We can easily find the, what is that, the mode? We have only a very few outliers, but I do wonder, our outliers are like over double. Like our slowest ones are over double our average. I wonder what's happening in those instances. Okay, this does give us some information to work with though, and we are currently on the published code, not the PR version. So I'll run this a few times. We'll just make sure the data is looking mostly similar-ish. And then what I'll do is I'll copy it out and we'll run it on the modified one, and we'll see if the bulk of the frames are faster or slower. Interestingly, we landed on 274662 both times as the mode. It does look like roughly the same kind of distribution every time, right? 274662 is the most. We get a clump of a few hundred counts, a couple smaller ones, and then Generally smaller ones towards the end with a few, you know, not quite big, but slightly elevated in the counts around the 305, 180-ish. This is always on the same ones too. 305, 180 is the one that gets the bump there, and it gets the same bump here. Okay. Don't necessarily need this part, but just so I don't have to keep scrolling all the way around and stuff, what I'm going to do is drop these in here. Oops. It's ready. Now we'll go back to the PR branch. Gotta go, moderating YouTube stream, have fun. Yep, take it easy, Johnny, have a good day. Thanks for hanging out. Give it a couple trials here. Does seem pretty similar, truthfully. We got the 500 in the same bucket there. We got our elevated 305, 180. And we got our clump of a couple of hundred counts. One has a slightly smaller clump there and a bigger 305, 180. Truthfully, these look pretty similar, but it's also good to keep in mind at this point we are running only 1,000 cycles, whereas when we saw that bigger difference we were running 10,000 cycles. The like, what was it, 1/3 of a second or something over the course of 2 seconds. And yeah, we should be on the edited one. So let's try going back up to 10,000. This might make our histogram a little crazy. Oh wow, some of those were like really far. For this one, I'm just going to take everything up to the last kind of big piece, and we'll say the rest is kind of outliers on a count of 10,000. Put that in, and then I'll switch back to real. And then we'll do a couple more of the full elapsed time of everything as well. I guess we should be printing both, but give it one more. I have the camera ready to go, but oh, I was like, those are the same. And so in this case, the first one we did was the modified. And the more recent one, which is on the right, was the unmodified. We did have a few hundred more at the 274,662. We had more up on the 305, 180 by about 250. Probably close to 100 more between these two as well. But other than that, they're fairly similar. Good morning, DJ Devin. How's it going? Started getting the matrix panel running, API examples running into hard fault handler on the Feather S3. Yeah, I have not done pretty much anything on an S3 yet. I think that I grabbed on an order that I was making for something else. I think I put in a Feather TFT S3. Maybe booted it up one day, but I don't know that I've gone any farther than that. And honestly, I'm not 100% positive I even booted it up. So you have the, you must have then the Feather Matrix, Featherwing Matrix, RGB Matrix add-on thing. Is that S3? Yeah, I have not done a hard fault. Have not done a hard fault debug on Espressif. I don't know if it's any different or not. Did we? Maybe we did a hard. Maybe we did a hard fault debug on the hack tablet, which was Espressif. I think so. Maybe we did the one. Yeah, it is. I will say it's definitely a bit of a process to try to like chase it down and get the actual like more output from the hard fault to try to figure out what happened. It's got extra tools and stuff. You got to hook up to a different USB port in the case of the device I did it on. I don't even know what it would be on a Feather though. I guess it's probably exposed as pins or something. Works great on an S2 and S3 without Wi-Fi. Trying to add Wi-Fi for some reason crashes it. The issue I was running into S3. Interesting on the unexpected. But yeah, my guess would be something is not quite ready in the port, the actual S3 port. Well, does it get its own port or does it just use the Espressif port? Either way, there seems to be something on the S3 devices that is not set up right. I wonder if it's that was a Pico thing. Then to do with like doing tasks in the background was causing a hard fault with was NVM storage. I'm sure this is totally different stuff, but isn't that like double? Didn't we get two something seconds before? Doing the dictionary Saving all of this stuff must be also taking additional time, I guess. The dictionary actually takes quite a bit of time. Interesting. Three, and this is the published one. 180. This is faster. This is not quite the jump we saw before. I must have had prints or something. Or we changed this also, I think. Although we did see that the dictionary made quite a bit of a difference. Maybe I had the dictionary active as well. Interestingly, that runs for longer. Ah, there's our difference, okay. That was the 0.3 that I saw before. So that is running 10,000 cycles of chase with no dictionary, just measuring total time of all 10,000. And we do get about a third of a second improvement with the new version of the library over the old one in that scenario. Let's check. I mean, is marquee? I think chase is marquee, right? Marquee's not its own. Marquee's not its own one, right? No. Okay. And then, I mean, there's custom color chase, which I bet probably that extends chase, so like that one would be affected. Rainbow Comet would be affected. Rainbow Chase would be affected. Leave pretty like all of these ones that extend either Chase or Comet would be affected by this. There's actually quite a few of them. Not 100% though. S2 and S3 is making progress for stability. At least I can run it without crashing due to the hard reset bug. Yeah. Yeah, S2, I've done a lot more with S2 than any other espressive platform at all, truthfully. And yeah, I don't run into too many issues. There have been a few over the, what, probably year or two? What is it? I forget when the S2 devices first started coming out, but yeah, just takes time though. It takes time to get everything straightened out. And I mean, in some cases, it's just taken people like the use case that people have is like the specific thing that causes it to be noticed. And so like when a person reports it with a good issue that makes it easy to look into, then is when it can kind of get fixed. Before that, it's like just, I mean, oftentimes it's just a thing that's not noticed or not known about to know that it needs to be digging for a fix in the core. Good issues definitely help out a lot, though, I think, on that front. Like anybody who is using the newest platforms and has issues and reports them, like detailed, like here's what I was running and the code and all that, versions, and just a good bit of information about what happened that's easy to reproduce, hopefully. That's the kind of stuff that makes it easier to start nailing things down. So what are the actual improvements, I guess, are mostly, seems like enumerate, I suppose, is the main, is this is going, this was looping over the colors with enumerate. Draw at, tail start, pixel number. Draw at less than 0 or greater than max. So this is like checking if it's outside the range of, I guess, num pixels. Not self ring continue. Not sure what self ring would be. This one's comment. I guess maybe ring, is that loop? I don't know. Maybe there's one that, is there a comment that can, yeah, okay, so it's probably the opposite of the bounce or whatever. So the new logic is check ring out here. Use modulus to get start. Modulus equals. Start equals start modulus num pixels. Interesting. I don't recall ever seeing the modulus assignment operator used like that before. Then we loop over colors, which is essentially the same, just without the enumerate. But inside we're going pixel start color start +1 start equals pixel start 0. And then if it's not ring, we have down here loop over colors. We have a break. I guess might get us out early if start is greater than num pixels. Then break. Start is greater than 0, then set color +1. So yeah, I guess what it comes down to, well, I don't know about enumerate. If enumerate itself is more expensive than not using it, that could be one place where the improvement's coming from. But I'm unsure. I don't know the specifics behind how that works, or if it's like how much slower it is than just a for loop by itself. The other places, though, in the old logic, we always had to loop over every color, and this time sometimes we're breaking early, which I guess is making it so that we are not doing this. Well, it would have continued before, though, but only if it was not ring. So in the case before, if draw at was greater than num pixels, but if ring was true, then we still would have done this. Is maybe what we want, I guess. I don't know. I'm less sure. Are we actually? It feels like with break instead of continue, we could potentially skip more iterations. Because break will break out of the loop and not, like, we basically end the loop early. Whereas continue will end the current iteration early, but will still do the next and all the following iterations. And then I guess we're just calling continue over and over again. So we end up calling continue, 3 times or whatever, instead of just calling break once on the third from last, and therefore ultimately cutting 3 iterations out. I think that those two things are kind of the primary drivers of this improvement. And I don't know how much of a difference enumerate makes. And I'm not 100% sure that I'm understanding the break versus continue right, but that's my take on it reading it here the first time. Is like, I think this break is allowing it to skip extra iterations that the continue is not actually allowing it to skip. It's still having to loop. Even though it's just continuing, it must be taking time while it loops, and cutting out those iterations is saving us the time overall, I think. Seagrover found a bug, affected 30 boards because nobody worked with Vector.io. Yeah, Vector.io does not get used too much, for sure. I would say I probably use it more than most. I do. It does. It's good for a lot of things, though. It's more efficient than bitmaps, shapes, and things. So if if whatever you're trying to make fits within its constraints, then it's generally more efficient. But yeah, not a lot of people know. It's not in a learn guide. I think a big part of it is it's not in a learn guide. It probably needs a page in the display.io learn guide, maybe. I think there is a shapes page. Maybe Vector.io should be added to the shapes page as the alternative way. Begs the question, does it really need to be a built-in library if nobody notices? Yeah, I mean, I don't think... I mean, asking that question is fine. I don't think that points towards it being... I guess I'm not sure what you mean, though. If you mean Vector.io being a built-in library, I mean, Vector.io has a lot of upsides over display.io. So yeah, I'm definitely not in favor of just getting rid of it. I think it is a really nice addition to what we can draw. Even if it was broken on certain boards for a while, right? It wasn't broken on every board. I've been using it pretty consistently for a long time on a few different boards, and it hasn't had any, not exactly sure, I guess, what the issue was, but I haven't noticed whatever that issue was, so I assume it wasn't affecting the boards I was on, or I just wasn't tickling it the right way, so to speak. I wasn't causing it by doing the exact right thing, I guess. One of those two things. So I don't think it's worth axing. And then in terms of, like, I do think stuff goes through the cracks sometimes on the boards that are less widely utilized by the core team members. I don't think that's necessarily reason to just give up support for them either, though. I think, like, if people are using those things, just because they're not updating all the time and finding all the newest issues doesn't mean they're not good things to support. Makes them harder to support, because if the issues don't crop up until way further down the line, then maybe the issues end up being harder to troubleshoot. So it does make them harder to support, and I do think the question is worth asking in case by case, like, on a given thing, does it make sense to continue? But for Vector.io, I say, like, for sure, I think it's better. And it's something we want to keep for sure. At least I would vote strongly in favor of keeping it. Something to do with display shapes and FPS drop to 0. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, Vector.io is an alternative to display shapes typically. I want to say, like, Vector.io, if you're moving things around, you tend to get a little bit better frame rate than bitmap. It really depends on the size, though, of, like, the thing. Like, really small bitmaps can have really nice frame rates, the same as really small Vector.ios. But once you start getting bigger, the bitmaps tend to slow down in my experience. But it's pretty case by case. I think it depends a lot on what the shape being drawn is. I've done most of my testing with circles. I don't know if they're, like, rectangles maybe behave different, or just bigger shapes generally I think are slower in both cases, but Vector IO being faster generally makes it faster in that case, but actually, it's been a little while since I played with it too. It definitely was not. It might have been back in like, it might not have even been 7 the last time I did any of that kind of like sort of frame benchmarking with the different shape types. So don't use Vector IO guide would help. Yeah, I think it does. It would be good to mention in a guide somewhere to have a guide covering it. Yeah, I think that's probably a big part of the reason it doesn't get utilized as much, is there is no learn guide for it. And it kind of makes sense, like, if you know the history behind it, it's a completely third-party thing. Like, it was a member of the community, Warrior of Wire just added it into the core. Whereas the whole rest of the Display IO guide was created back when CircuitPython 4 released, which was when Display IO came, or maybe it was 3, I don't remember the version. Whichever one when Display IO was released, that's when that Display IO guide was written. It's had a few updates since, but nothing major, like no like brand new pages or anything. And Vector IO is much more recent, within the last, like, I want to say maybe 2 years, probably since CircuitPython 6 or 7. And then Vector IO also got refactored to work differently at one point. So, and then in that case, like, if it had had a guide, the guide would have needed to be updated quite a bit. The good news is, though, because it didn't yet, when the guide page gets written for the first time, it can actually use the current API. Yeah, me neither, to be honest there. Display IO was it, so I didn't use CircuitPython too much before Display IO existed. I did a little tiny bit on a Circuit Playground Express with no display. I didn't have the gizmo at that time. And so I think I was using that Circuit Playground Express back in the either version 2 or version 3 days before Display IO existed, but it didn't have a display, so I wasn't doing that stuff anyway. I kind of put it down for a while at some point because I was hitting the limits of storage space or RAM, one of the two. Like, I think it was RAM more so than storage space. I was trying to write a program that was too complex for the device, basically, and I didn't have enough room to use all the libraries and all the code that I wanted to. So I kind of put that project down for a while, and then the next time that I picked up CircuitPython more seriously was an Edge badge, which has a display built in. And by the time I got it and started playing with it, it had Display IO. So Display IO was one of the very first things that I really played with in CircuitPython world that next time when I got into it, which is kind of around the time when I started getting involved in the community and contributing and doing more of that stuff, publishing guides and things. So I am in the same boat as you. I used it a little bit before Display IO, but never anything with displays, and I don't have any like frame of reference for anything before that that actually did draw on displays. It's very integral to it, to me at least in my mind. Jeff didn't really explain the nuances of like why it's faster. Is that right? This improves the speed by eliminating expensive operations. I don't think the count matters too much, but we'll put it. So 0.2 was the one where we saw the biggest improvement. I'll just kind of put the one main improvement we found. I think it really heavily depends on what your parameters are, which we saw when we changed from 0.1 to 0.02. We had a different, pretty wildly different amount of time saved. So it must it's to do with how quick you're calling it and all kinds of different, how fast it wants to actually change as well. So speed 0.02. Impressed with Toddbot's been able to get with ULab, NumPy, and NeoPixels. Only so much you can do without a display. It will feel industrial. Like Arduino display capability, oddly enough, is really where Arduino CircuitPython starts separating. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, displays are possible with Arduino, but it's more about like really micromanaging the pixels than the object-oriented approach like display.io gives you. I mean, that being said, like, I haven't done that much with Arduino generally, and even less with Arduino and screens, so little bits here and there are the only experience I have, but I do feel like in the Arduino world, it was really like micromanaging which pixels are which color a lot more specifically than display.io. You can we have these objects built on top. You don't have to really dive into the details if you don't want to. You can just create a high-level thing and interact with it. Uses a class called PixelMap, which is inspired by PixelMap. Oh. Okay. So Jeff has actually moved into the core the PixelMap class, which probably gives us another speed up, I would assume, for anything that's using PixelMap. I would assume that this would run much faster. Nice. Maybe we'll try this out next. I do think I'm probably going to call it here for the time being on this stream. Like I said, I'm going to be cutting out a bit earlier than normal. I had not actually seen this in the core though. This is kind of interesting as well. So I think what we'll do is I'll call it a day for now. I left the review on this one, right? We left the review on this one. We tried it out. That's all looking good. Next time that I stream, I will probably take a look at this. We could try to build this branch of the core and then see what difference it makes using these animations. My guess would be we get another pretty marked increase in speed, I would guess, because pixel map, it's roughly like a mapping of, I mean, in the case of the strand, like I'm using here, I don't think pixel map probably makes much of a difference. But in the case of like this, I think this is where it makes more of a difference because it's allowing you to treat groups of pixels as one, essentially. If I'm thinking of the right object, I'm pretty sure that's what that object does. And so having that done in the core, I would assume would make it faster because I guess the Python code is having to do 4 of something, right? And if the core code does 4 of that same something, it should do it faster. In the case that your rows have 4 in it, it's more generic than that. You can do different sized rows and all that stuff. But so that'll be fun to check out as well. What's going on inside that core one? That's pretty interesting. So thanks to everybody for watching. Let me catch up here real quick. Arduino. Let's see for something with HDMI. Let's see. I've been impressed. Oh nope, I did that one. Started with the weather station 2 years ago with Arduino. Ported it to CircuitPython for a world of difference. Any project with a display that doesn't involve HDMI. Yeah, reaching for CircuitPython hands down. Yeah. Thanks again. Have a fine weekend. Yep, you too. Have a nice weekend, Paul. Thanks for hanging out for a bit. LED animations for the core. I'm always for. Always be people playing with Neo. Yeah, for sure. NeoPixels could always be made faster and better. Thank you for the stream. Yep, you're welcome. Thanks for hanging out. And thank you as well to C. Grover for hanging out. Keith the EE, thanks for hanging out as well. And I hope everybody does have a good weekend. And I will catch you next time. Got the tail end, but that's what the VODs are for. Have a good one. Yep, thanks, Keith. We'll see you all later on.